Welcome to the channel, guys. My name is Jess. So Bitcoin has officially lost its bi-monthly uptrend, and we're now sitting on the edge of what could be the most important level of support for the 2025 bull run. Let's take a closer look at the charts today, including all the recent price action and what it means, the next key targets, and all the key levels that you need to be watching out for. Let's get into it. As always, before we dive in, make sure you guys smash that like button and subscribe to the channel to get regular Bitcoin analysis every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. And sign up to my free Telegram for more regular Bitcoin updates. If you're a trader and you're interested in joining my VIP channel, be sure to message me down below on Telegram. VIP gives you exclusive access to my personal trading setups with exact entry points, targets, and stop losses. Alrighty guys, so jumping into the charts, let's talk about this most recent loss of the bi-monthly uptrend here for Bitcoin and why $106,000, the current level of support, is so important for Bitcoin in terms of both macro positioning as well as short time frame triggers. So here on the daily time frame here, we can see the bi-monthly uptrend quite clearly. It is this black trend line, and we have been traveling above it for around 49 days, so nearly 2 months, and it has marked out the entire period of recovery from $74,000, the local bottom established in April, until recently when we had topped out at 112,000, right, reaching the new all-time high across pretty much all the time frames. We had a close higher than it had ever closed before. Now, most recently, just last night, we lost this uptrend, right? Bitcoin tumbled below this trend line. We closed below it on the daily time frame as well. And just last night, we lost this sort of equal low support on the very small time frames, the 4-hour, 1-hour time frame. And we've been tumbling back downwards towards $106,000 throughout this morning. So 106K is particularly important here. It's important for a number of reasons, but just strictly looking at this daily time frame chart, it's important because it was the prior daily close high, right? And should therefore act as support, being that sort of change of character level as we saw the bullish continuation above here, right? When we pushed above 106K, closing above that on a daily time frame, that is when we saw the, push up to 112. And so moving back downwards, we want to see that level retested as a base of support and holding as a support to actually facilitate further bullish continuation beyond 112 and into price discovery once again, right? So that is why, from just purely a horizontal perspective here on a daily time frame, 106 is so important. And we can see right now with the daily candle close about 44 minutes away, Bitcoin is really struggling to hold that level. Now, if we pull up the Smart Money Concepts indicator over here, we can see that just below $106,000, in fact, Bitcoin is retesting it right now, is a liquidity zone that starts at $105.7 thousand and ends down here at $100.7 thousand. We can also see, even just taking a look at the historical price action, the reaction to the loss of $106,000 has generally always been quite aggressively bearish, resulting in continuations pretty much immediately taking us back down to the top of this horizontal line over here, this black line at $100,000. We can see that over here, as well as over here. We had 2 retests of that from rejections at $106,000. So once again, taking a look at this current daily chart price action, what we're looking at here on the entry of this liquidity zone. So if Bitcoin closes this daily candle close in 40 minutes below this top level here, and we enter this liquidity zone, we are more likely than not going to see a bearish continuation downwards towards $100,000, potentially seeing, short time frame potential levels of support here at around 102.4, and these change of characters as well here at 104.9K. But nevertheless, as we move into the liquidity zone, there is a higher probability that we continue to travel within that zone, meaning a bearish continuation downwards to 101,000. We can also see just below it as well, acting as a dynamic level of support, our 50 EMA, and once again, that 100K level, right? That sort of change of character level that has been historically significant. I'm sure if I pulled up the VRPV right now, we'd probably see quite a large spike around that level. Yep, so right there, we have the end of that sort of volume dip right there, and we have the start of this next very large peak at $100,000. So another really large level of support at 100K. Now, you might be asking why all of this is so important. And the reason why this movement downwards below $106,000 is so crucial is because of what we can see on the weekly time frame. So if we take a look here at the weekly chart, what we can essentially see is that just below $106,000, that sort of red dotted trend line I've marked out here, is the prior weekly range, or the top of the prior weekly range, this purple dotted trend line at $104.4 thousand. And that's really important because essentially this top of that weekly range had marked out the sort of candle close on the weekly time frame for Bitcoin's prior all-time highs, right? We had never really been able to push above $104,000. Even here in January when we pushed up to 110K, making that new all-time high in the start of 2025, we didn't actually manage to close above that level, right? And hence we saw, the eventual correction back down to the base of the weekly range, and then losing the base, we went all the way down to $74,000, the current sort of local bottom for Bitcoin. And so taking a look right now at the price action, if we enter the liquidity zone described on the daily time frame, starting at 105 and ending at $100,000 or just above $100,000, we essentially move back below this weekly range. And obviously, the longer we stay below that, the more likely we are to close the weekly candle below the top of that range, and essentially signaling a failed breakout, right? Because we've had a massive change of character level. That weekly range is a massive resistance, a massive change of character level, and pushing above that, if we go up and then on to retest that level, what we want to see is that level established as support, right? Otherwise, what this essentially would look like is a massive deviation setup, right? We're falling back below that change of character level after the deviation. And, we have almost confirmation of that deviation by taking a look at RSI. We can see, despite the fact that Bitcoin has moved up to 112, momentum was still lower than this prior peak here created by $108,000, right? So we had bearish divergence, creating the secondary, new all-time high. And so, creating that deviation pattern, it sort of signals that we have a very high probability of re-entering the weekly range and going it back down to retest levels within this range. And so that brings us then to the topic of targets, right? Where are we sort of targeting on the way downwards, and where are the sort of most crucial levels that we have on the way downwards for which Bitcoin could also see a bounce and recovery, right? So in my last video, I spoke about a fractal analysis here, comparing the current sort of positioning of Bitcoin here in 2025 to what happened in 2021, right? Sort of similar deviation pattern here with consistent instances of bearish divergence, and I did an entire video about that. So if you guys want to watch that, and I think if you are participating in this current cycle, I think these are one of those moments to be really paying attention to. So it is a really important video to watch if you're interested in that. But essentially, I did mention that we had potential bounce points along the way downwards, specifically being the midline here at 99,000 and 93K. And we can see that across the daily time frame as well. Taking a look once again at that 100K to 99 level, we can see it acting as a pretty large trigger for bullish continuations when established as support in the past, right? We've generally gone on to create new all-time highs every time we've done that here on the daily time frame. This most recent segment has been no different, but also closing below it, we have generally seen, larger corrections, right? So it is that sort of really important trigger point and also level of support. And just below that, we have the midline for this sort of smaller daily chart range that ends as well at 93K, right? So it has confluence with the base of the weekly chart range as well. And once again, we can see it sort of acting as that really important change of character and support level in the past. Now, before we wrap up, let's take a quick look at the shorter time frame, because that's going to tell us, moving into this daily close in about 15 minutes, the probability of seeing a bounce there on that sort of liquidity zone. So right now, objectively looking at the small time frames, we're on a 4-hour chart here, the charts aren't looking all too great. We can see just on the last 2 candles alone, Bitcoin did try to recover here. We saw, that small green candle, that large wick upwards, but we rejected off this level right there, right? We can see it acting as resistance in the past. We bounced on support, causing a massive rally up to 112, and we sort of retested that level in that wick there, that red dotted trend line, and are seeing sort of quite a bearish candle form against it. We have consistent lower lows, lower highs. RSI is looking weak as well, and honestly, the most probable or likely sort of continuation here on these small time frames with this close, with the way it's currently shaping, looks like a continuation down to 104.8 $100,000, right? So sort of short time frame bearish. And then of course just below that we have support here at 104.9. But by then we have very much entered that liquidity zone on the daily chart as well. Now, in order to invalidate any of that analysis and for Bitcoin to actually bounce on this level, on the short time frame, what we want to see is a recovery above this prior equal low support here at that black line, $106.7 thousand, pushing it back above there and sort of reconsolidating within that range, 106 and 110, that sort of prior stagnation point that we talked about in the last video. And then of course, if we manage to close above 110 and push that as a level of support, retest that and bounce, we're very much likely in the clear again, and Bitcoin is very much more going to be looking bullish as opposed to bearish. Alrighty guys, that is a wrap on the analysis for today. Thank you for tuning in for another episode. If you enjoyed the video or you learned something, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel to get regular Bitcoin analysis every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. And join my free Telegram for more regular Bitcoin updates. If you're interested in my VIP trading channel, don't forget to message me down below on Telegram. VIP gives you exclusive access to my personal trading setup, so the exact entry points, targets, and stop losses. Hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!